Chapter 1. I sat in the car, scrolling through my phone when Mia's latest post popped up. Loving my new nails. The photo showed a slender, pale hand with freshly painted red nails. But it wasn't just the nails that caught my eye. Around her wrist was a watch I recognized instantly. It was the custom watch I had designed for William. And as if that wasn't enough, the background in the picture was unmistakably my living room. I took a deep breath, trying to calm the storm brewing inside me. After a quick call to the building manager, I decided it was time to head upstairs. This trip was supposed to last until the day after tomorrow. But today was William's birthday and I'd wanted to surprise him, so I rushed back early. Key in hand, I opened the door, only to be met by a scene that stopped me cold. The apartment was a mess. Clothes and shoes were scattered everywhere as if someone had ransacked the place. On the dining table, half-eaten food sat abandoned. A wine glass had tipped over, spilling red wine onto the floor and leaving dark stains on the rug. I set my suitcase by the door and sank onto the couch, trying to make sense of the chaos. Just then my phone buzzed. It was Rick, one of William's close friends. "Hey, you back in town yet? We're at the Grand Club throwing William a birthday party. Figured you'd come back early for him. He's got a surprise for you too. Room C501. Come join us, we're all waiting." I let out a quiet, bitter laugh. "Oh really? That's awful. You guys have fun." I hung up, walked back to the door and threw it open. Then with all the strength I could muster, I shouted into the hallway. "Thief! Someone broke into my apartment. Help! Call the police." My voice echoed down the corridor, drawing the attention of my neighbors. Curious faces began to appear at their doors and soon, a small crowd had gathered near mine. "Where's the thief?" an older woman asked, concern creasing her face. I pointed toward the bedroom, feigning fear. "In there. I'm too scared to check. I don't know what to do." The woman patted my arm. "Don't worry, honey. We're all here. We'll get that scumbag. Whoever it is must be out of their mind to try something like this in our building." At that moment, the building's security arrived, along with a property manager. One of the security guards banged on the bedroom door. "Come out now, or we're breaking the door down." After what felt like an eternity, the door creaked open. William stepped out, looking disheveled and panicked. "Wait, it's not what it looks like. I can explain." But that wasn't all. Mia followed close behind him, her head hung low, trying to hide her face. Their clothes were wrinkled, hastily thrown on, and the bed behind them was a mess of tangled sheets. It didn't take a genius to figure out what had happened. What had started as a supposed break-in had morphed into something far worse. A scene of betrayal caught in broad daylight. The security guard shifted uncomfortably. "Mr. Harris, what's going on here?" The elderly woman and the other neighbors needed no further explanation. They immediately pulled out their phones, snapping photos and recording the whole thing. Well, turns out it wasn't a thief after all, he was just helping himself to something else. He always seemed so put together. Who knew he was this kind of guy? Men, they're all the same, aren't they? And look at her, the little homewrecker, trying to hide her face now. Shameless. Let's get a good look at what kind of woman would do something like this. Mia, mortified, covered her face with both hands. The taunts from the crowd only grew louder. "Please, stop filming," she begged, her voice barely above a whisper. William stepped in front of her, trying to shield her from the cameras. His eyes darted toward me, desperate. "Anna, make them stop. Get them out of here." I bit down hard on my lip, forcing myself to stay composed. I walked up to him, my hand shaking slightly, and slapped him across the face. "You, the great William Harris, the young master of Harris Group. You told me you loved me, that you were faithful. And yet here you are, bringing your mistress into our home while I'm gone. I must have been out of my mind to ever trust you." William's face turned red with fury. "How dare you hit me?" From behind me, a young woman cheered, her phone still recording. "Good for you. Expose them. Post the whole thing online. Let everyone see what kind of scumbags they really are." Realizing the crowd wasn't about to back down, William grabbed Mia's hand and hurried out of the apartment, leaving without another word. I blocked Mia's path as she tried to make her exit. "Hold on," I said sharply. "You're not leaving with my watch." Mia gave me a wide-eyed, innocent look. "But William gave it to me," she replied, her voice dripping with false sweetness. William jumped in, his voice hurried, trying to smooth things over. "Yeah, I did. You never wore it and I thought you didn't like it. Mia really liked the design, so I figured, what's the harm? I wiped away the tears threatening to spill over and steadied my voice. It doesn't matter if I wore it or not. I paid for that watch. It's mine. And you had no right to just give it away like it was some trinket. You should know better, William. Taking something that's not yours is stealing, plain and simple. The older woman from across the hall, who'd come over when I shouted earlier, couldn't hold back any longer. What kind of person are you? She exclaimed, voice rising with indignation. A young woman like you breaking up someone's home and stealing their things? Shameless. The neighbors, now fully invested in the scene, nodded in agreement, muttering their disapproval. Mia's face flushed with embarrassment. She rifled through her bag, pulled out the watch, and flung it at my feet. Without another word, she bolted through the crowd, her head down, trying to disappear. William, looking desperate, ran after her, calling her name. The neighbors stayed back for a moment, offering a few kind words of sympathy before finally dispersing. Some looked at me with pity, others with curiosity, but I barely registered their faces. I was too numb to care. I stood there in the middle of the mess, clothes strewn across the floor, the remnants of a meal abandoned on the table, the spilled wine still staining the carpet, and for a moment I felt like I was watching someone else's life fall apart. Then, without another glance, I grabbed my suitcase from where I'd left it by the door and walked out. I didn't look back. I headed straight for Serenity Bay, my other apartment. It wasn't big, but it was mine. A place no one else could invade. A place I could finally breathe. After a hot shower, I slipped into bed, hoping exhaustion would knock me out. But sleep didn't come easily. The quiet of the night only amplified the ache in my chest, and soon, the tears I'd been holding back came in full force. William hadn't always been like this. He was the young master of Harris's family, the golden boy destined for greatness. But all that changed after the accident. The car crash left him blind, and Mia, his so-called true love, left him the moment she realized he wasn't the man she once knew. Suddenly, William was alone, a broken man with no future. That's when I stepped in. As a traditional medicine practitioner, I used a family remedy, a mix of herbs and acupuncture, to help him regain his sight. Took months of treatment, but eventually he could see again. William saw it as a second chance, a gift from the universe, and he threw himself into rebuilding his life. He started a pharmaceutical company and worked tirelessly to make it a success. Within 5 years, he had turned it into a rising star in the industry. I became the company's lead researcher, bringing my family's ancient medicinal secrets to the table. Together, we were supposed to have it all. The perfect life, the perfect future. But then Mia came back. At first, William said he wanted revenge. He wanted to keep her close as a reminder of her mistake, to make her watch as he became everything she'd left behind. He hired her as his assistant, claiming it was all part of his plan. But I wasn't blind. Soon he started coming home later and later. Some nights he didn't come home at all. Then there were the little things, the blonde hair I found on his coat one day when my hair was black. The missed calls, the vague excuses. My health wasn't great either. Because of my work, I didn't eat regularly, and over time I developed stomach problems. One night, the pain was unbearable, so I asked William to get me some medicine. He didn't come back for hours. When I finally called him, I found out he was at Mia's place. Apparently, her pipes had burst and she had no one else to call. "Sorry, Anna," Mia had said over the phone, her voice dripping with fake sincerity. "My apartment was flooding and William was just being a good friend. You wouldn't mind, would you? You're such a kind person. I'm sure you understand." Her words felt like tiny explosions in my head, each one more painful than the last. In the end, it was my younger brother, Ryan, who brought me the medicine I needed. He's a doctor, and when he saw the state I was in, he was furious. "This is ridiculous," Ryan had fumed as he handed me the medicine. "You're in pain and he's off playing handyman for someone else? He's completely out of line." I knew then, deep down, that William had already made his choice. He had chosen Mia long before I was willing to admit it. But I wasn't ready to face the truth. I kept giving him chances, hoping, foolishly, that he'd come back to me. That he'd remember everything we'd been through together. But he didn't care. He never did. So I was done waiting. If William wasn't going to be the one to break the illusion, and then I would. It was time to stop pretending and face the ugly truth. I wasn't going to live in denial any longer. Chapter 3. By the next morning, The video of William and Mia had spread like wildfire across the internet. William's reputation took a nosedive, and as expected, it dragged Harris Group's stock price down with it. I heard William's grandpa tore into him, berating him for hours. At the office, whispers filled the hallways. People huddled in small groups, gossiping, glancing my way whenever they thought I wasn't looking. But I carried on as if nothing had happened. I arrived at work like any other day, calm and composed. It wasn't long, though, before William summoned me to his office. The moment I stepped in, he slammed his hand on the desk, his face flushed with anger. "This mess. You're responsible for this. You blew things out of proportion and now it's all over the internet. You need to release a statement immediately, clear this up, and tell everyone it's just a misunderstanding." I looked him straight in the eye, my voice as cool as ice. "A misunderstanding? Really? What am I supposed to say? That Mia didn't know she was being the other woman? Or that two half-naked people in a bedroom were just having a friendly chat?" His eyes darkened and he pointed a shaking finger at me. "I knew it. You did this on purpose, didn't you? You wanted to ruin me, destroy my reputation." I laughed, the sound bitter and sharp. "Oh, don't be ridiculous. Was I the one sneaking around behind your back? Was I the one bringing your affair into our home? You're the one who trashed your own reputation, William, not me. Don't blame me for your mess." Seeing I wasn't going to back down, his tone shifted, softer now, almost pleading. "Look, I know I screwed up. But this company, I've worked so hard to build it from the ground up. It means everything to me. Are you really willing to let it all fall apart?" I crossed my arms, leaning back slightly. "Don't get it twisted. I've worked just as hard as you to get this company where it is today. I'm not out to destroy it. But if you want to salvage your reputation, it's simple. Have Mia release a statement admitting she seduced you and then fire her." He hesitated, his face conflicted. Before he could finish, the door flew open and Mia stormed in, her face flushed with fury. "I knew it," she spat, glaring at me. "You're trying to pin this all on me, aren't you? Well, guess what? That's not happening." She clung to William's arm, her voice shaky but determined. Her hand rested on her stomach as she looked up at him with tearful eyes. "William, you may not care about me, but what about our baby? Don't you care about us?" William's face went pale. "Mia, you're pregnant?" She nodded, her voice softening as if she were the victim here. "Yes, William. I'm carrying your child." I had heard enough. I pulled out a resignation letter and placed it calmly on William's desk. "I've already told you how to fix this. Whether you do it or not, that's your choice. But I'm done. I'm resigning. Whatever happens from here on out is none of my concern." William looked stunned. "You're quitting? Yoon, don't be rash." Mia tightened her grip on his arm, her eyes flashing with satisfaction. "Let her go, William. She's not worth it. You told me yourself you're tired of her. You said I was the one you truly loved." William's face tightened with guilt, but he didn't deny it. "Anna, I'm sorry." I met his gaze, my voice steady and cold. "We're done, William. And don't you forget this. It's me who's leaving you. Whatever happens next, don't come looking for me." He frowned but said nothing. I walked out of his office, heading straight to HR to finalize my resignation. As I packed up my things, a colleague pulled me aside. "You're really quitting?" she asked, her voice full of concern. "You just landed that huge deal on your last business trip. You're really going to let someone else take all the credit?" I shrugged, gathering the last of my things. Staying here would mean working for two people who clearly don't value loyalty. No thanks. Besides, who knows? That big deal might turn out to be more trouble than it's worth. She gave me a curious look but didn't press any further. With my resignation settled, I left the city and headed for the coast. I needed time away from everything. No calls, no distractions, just the sound of the waves and the freedom to finally breathe. I blocked William's number and deleted him from my contacts. The past was behind me and I wasn't about to let it drag me down any longer. For the next few weeks, I traveled, explored, and rediscovered myself. I had finally stepped out of the shadow of my old life and it felt good. Then one evening, as I was relaxing in my hotel room, my phone rang. It was Rick, one of William's friends. "Hey Anna," he started, his tone awkward. William's been drinking. A lot. He's a mess. Could you, maybe come, help him out?" I let out a small laugh, twirling a leaf of the new plant I'd bought at a local shop. "Rick, you've got the wrong number. Mia's his problem now. Call her. Rick stammered, clearly unsure of how to respond. But Anna, he's been asking for you. He says he needs to see you. I took a sip of the tea I'd just poured and replied calmly. And why exactly should I care? William made his choices. It's not my job to fix him anymore. Rick's voice grew more desperate. Look, I wouldn't call if it weren't serious. He's been in bad shape for days. Barely sleeping, constant headaches. He's been to the hospital, but nothing's working. I raised an eyebrow, unimpressed. Then tell him to try another hospital. I'm not a doctor and I'm certainly not his savior. Rick's voice dropped to a near whisper, almost pleading now. He said that only you can help him. That you're the only one who knows how to make him better. I let out a quiet chuckle, my voice cold. Tell William he should try finding someone else. I'm done with him. And with that I hung up. Chapter 4. William was spiraling. The headaches had returned and with them a fear he hadn't felt in years. After the accident he suffered from the same unbearable pain. Doctors ran every test imaginable but no one could figure out what was wrong. Then just as the pain began to fade his world went dark. Literally. He lost his sight. Those days were the darkest of his life in every sense of the word. He could still feel the suffocating helplessness, the way the world had felt so small, so confined. Even after his vision was restored, the memories of that time haunted him. He'd wake up in the middle of the night, drenched in sweat, heart racing, after dreaming of darkness closing in around him. And now, as the headaches returned, William felt that same terror creeping back. He was too scared to even close his eyes, afraid that when he opened them again the world would be black. 3 years ago, it was Anna who'd saved him from that darkness. She was the only one who had been able to help him. And now she was the only one who could save him again. But she was gone. She'd blocked his number and cut off all contact. William had tried everything to reach her, but it was like she had vanished into thin air. His frustration boiled over and Mia was the nearest target. This is all your fault, he snapped, pacing angrily. If it weren't for you, Anna wouldn't be avoiding me. Mia, looking hurt but trying to stay calm, said, William, she's not the only doctor in the world. We can try other hospitals and see other specialists. If we don't find someone here, we'll go abroad. There has to be someone who can help. William slammed his fist down on the table, his voice rising. You don't understand. My family hired every top doctor back then and none of them could do a damn thing. Only she could help me. Only Anna. Desperate, William called Rick, one of his closest friends. I don't care what it takes, he said, his voice harsh. Find her. Do whatever you have to do, but find her. Rick's call stirred up memories I'd long since buried. 3 years ago, when I first started treating William, I wasn't even sure I could help him. The treatment I used came from an old recipe my grandfather had left behind before he passed away. He'd warned me that while the medicine was powerful, it came with risks. The recovery process would be delicate, requiring constant care and attention. But William, he never took care of himself. His life was a whirlwind of late nights, endless drinking, chain smoking, and stress. His body had been falling apart long before I met him. If I hadn't been giving him regular acupuncture treatments and preparing herbal remedies for him, his vision would have failed long ago. I spent years perfecting a modified version of the medicine, working late into the night, testing and tweaking the formula. I was close, so close to finishing it, when I found out about his affair with Mia. That betrayal drained every drop of motivation I had. I stopped everything. I couldn't bring myself to care anymore. Just then my phone buzzed. A message from Ryan. He told me that after I left the company, Mia had taken over the project I'd been working on. Though everyone despised her for being the other woman, they tolerated her, hoping she'd finish the deal and bring in the bonuses they'd been counting on. Mia was convinced that this project would secure her place at the company, that completing it would elevate her status. But what she didn't realize was that the deal depended on one thing: the proprietary pharmaceutical technology only I had. During negotiations, I'd agreed to share that technology with our partners to close the deal. Naturally, when I left, I took it with me. Without the key ingredient, the whole project collapsed. The company had already poured a fortune into the project, and now all that money was gone. Wasted. It was a huge blow, and the company was reeling. The employees, who had been hoping for bonuses, turned on Mia. They isolated her, making her life at the office miserable. Meanwhile, William was caught in a perfect storm. His health was deteriorating, his business was suffering, and the project's failure was a heavy blow. He spent his days in a sullen, angry fog, his headaches only making things worse. Ryan's message was laced with dark humor. "Looks like William's finally getting what he deserves," he wrote. "Sis, you should stay on vacation a little longer. Let him sweat it out. My little brother had always been protective of me. We were close, and ever since I started dating William, he'd never liked him. I used to think Ryan was just being overprotective, upset that I wasn't spending as much time with him anymore. Turns out he'd seen things I hadn't." I smiled at Ryan's message and replied, "As long as you're doing well, that's all that matters. I'm not worried about anyone else. I'll be back soon and I'll bring you something special." Ryan's reply came quickly, "Ooh, a gift? You're the best, sis. Thanks in advance." His excitement made me laugh. I was so lucky to have a family like him. No matter what happened, I knew I could always count on Ryan to have my back. What I didn't know was that this would be the last conversation I ever had with him. Chapter 5. The hospital called me that day, telling me Ryan was in critical condition. At first, I thought it was some kind of scam. There was no way. Just 2 days ago we spoke on the phone. Ryan had been full of energy, laughing and joking like always. How could he be so close to the end? But when I tried to reach him, calling, texting, messaging, and got no response, a knot formed in my stomach. Something was wrong. Really wrong. I booked the first flight I could get, but I was barely able to focus on anything except getting to him. But even standing next to his hospital bed, staring down at his pale, lifeless face, it still didn't feel real. The nurse explained what had happened. Ryan had run into Mia at the hospital of all places. She was there for a routine checkup. Mia had been on edge, feeling like she was public enemy number one at work. Ever since I left, people had blamed her for the failed project, and she blamed me for the mess she was in. She couldn't take it out on me, so she did the next best thing. She found Ryan. She attacked him. She screamed, cursed, and even threw punches and kicks. And Ryan, being the good guy he always was, didn't fight back. He refused to hit a pregnant woman, so he just tried to dodge her blows. It didn't work. In the chaos, he lost his footing, fell down a flight of stairs, and hit his head. That's how my brother, my bright, full of life brother, ended up in a coma. I stood there, numb, watching him breathe through tubes, watching machines keep him alive. My mind went back to our childhood, back to the days when it was just the two of us and Grandma. Our parents? Gone. They left when Ryan was still a baby, chasing work and never looking back. Grandma raised us, but money was always tight. There were days when creditors would show up at our door, demanding payment. I'll never forget one day when they came, angry and ready to take anything they could get their hands on. I tried to stop them, but one of them picked up a chair, ready to smash it down on me. That's when Ryan stepped in, tiny, fearless Ryan. He didn't even hesitate. Just threw himself in front of me. The chair came down hard on his forehead and blood started pouring down his face. But even then he looked up at me and smiled. "I protected you, sis. I'm a man now, right?" And now here he was again, lying there helpless. The thought of it made my chest ache in a way I couldn't describe. Mia apparently had lost her baby in the aftermath of the incident. The stress, the shock had been too much. When I saw William and Mia again, William looked surprised to see me. "You're back." Mia looked like a shadow of herself, pale, gaunt, with dark circles under her eyes. She saw me and immediately flew into a rage. "Your brother took my baby's life," she screamed, her voice shaking with fury. "Don't think turning into a vegetable is enough to let him off the hook. He deserves to pay for what he did." I didn't even think. I crossed the room and grabbed her by the hair. "If you'd kept your hands to yourself, none of this would have happened. My brother wouldn't be lying in that hospital bed and your baby would still be alive. You brought this on yourself, you selfish, vindictive witch." Mia shrieked, trying to pull away. "He's just in a coma. My baby is gone. A life is gone and your brother is to blame." William stepped in, pulling us apart. "Mia's grieving, Anna. Losing the baby was devastating. Don't make this worse. What happened with Ryan? It was an accident." "An accident?" I threw his arm off and glared at him. "She attacked him. She pushed him, hit him, and that's why he fell. The hospital has it all on camera. Do you need me to show you the footage?" William looked away, guilt flashing across his face. "But Mia lost her baby too," he said quietly. "Can't we just leave it at that? Call it even and move on?" Before I could respond, Mia lost it. "No, we can't just move on. A life for a life. That's how it should be. Ryan shouldn't be allowed to live after what he did. I laughed, cold, bitter. You attacked Ryan, Mia. He's in a coma because of you. That's assault. And guess what? I've already called the police. You'll be held accountable for what you've done. Mia's face drained of color, her eyes wide with disbelief. No, that's impossible. He fell. It wasn't my fault. How can you blame me for that? She turned to William, her voice growing desperate. William, tell her. Tell her I didn't do anything wrong. Ryan fell on his own, didn't he? This isn't my fault. William's silence was answer enough. Mia's face twisted in panic. No. You're lying. You're trying to trap me. She grabbed William's arm, her voice turning frantic. William, help me. Do something. I'm still so young. I can't go to prison. I couldn't stand to look at them anymore. It was all too much, too pathetic, too disgusting. I turned to leave, but William's voice stopped me. Anna, listen. If you want to press charges against Mia, I won't stand in your way. But once you've calmed down, once you've let this go, come back to me. I froze, disbelief coursing through me. Was he serious? Did he really think I'd come crawling back to him after everything? I turned slowly, locking eyes with him. You think I'm just going to come running back to you after all this? My voice was cold, colder than I'd ever heard it. You really think I'm someone you can call back whenever you want? He didn't say anything. I didn't wait for him to. Without another word, I walked away, leaving them both behind to deal with the mess they'd created. Chapter 6. Mia was also in disbelief. William, what do you mean? She took the core technology, causing the project to fail and the company to lose so much money. Her brother even caused our baby's death. And you want to reconcile with her? Do you have a heart? Mia hit William in frustration. William pushed her away in disgust. Enough. You used to be so understanding. Now you're acting like a shrew. Mia collapsed to the ground, tears streaming down her face. William sighed. I was wrong before. Anna, let's start over. Seeing him extend his hand, I smiled slightly. William, thinking I had softened, smiled too. I suddenly asked, have you been taking painkillers and sleeping pills lately? He frowned. How do you know? I crossed my arms. The medication is becoming less effective, isn't it? So you're panicking. You want to reconcile with me just to get treatment. William pursed his lips, clearly caught. I smirked. Keep dreaming. Then I pointed at Mia. As for you, prepare for legal consequences. Mia was sentenced to over 10 years in prison for aggravated assault. After receiving the news, I visited Ryan in the hospital. I sat by his bed recounting everything. The person who hurt Ryan had been punished, and William lived in fear of his old illness returning. I knew he wouldn't sit idly by, but I didn't expect him to have me kidnapped. One day, as usual, I was returning home from the hospital when I was grabbed in the parking garage, my mouth covered and shoved into a car. They took me to an unknown location. William sat on a leather sofa looking exhausted. I was furious. Chapter 7. In this day and age, who still resorts to such tactics? William, what is this? Are you seeking revenge for your precious Mia? William looked at me and shook his head. Mia is already in prison. You should be satisfied. Stop causing trouble. Let me go immediately or I'll report you for illegal detention. William chuckled. You can't report anything if you can't leave. Don't worry, I won't mistreat you. After all, you're a valuable contributor to the company. He pulled out a small metallic object from his pocket. It was my USB drive containing the core technology. I was livid. You broke into my home? I can't believe you're so despicable to steal my things. William tapped the armrest of his chair with his finger. I didn't want to resort to this, but you left me no choice. Anna, did John approach you? I was surprised he knew about John so quickly. John had been William's rival since their school days. Despite coming from a poor background, John was handsome, smart, and the school's model student. John and Mia were childhood friends and everyone thought they would end up together. But the allure of wealth and romance led Mia to choose William over John. William, young and proud, flaunted his victory in love, parading Mia around in grand gestures. Roses, champagne, luxury watches, and cars. William and Mia became the new golden couple, while John faded into the background. After William's accident and subsequent blindness, Mia left him and people pitied their misfortune. Meanwhile, John quietly built his empire. After graduation, John started his own company. With determination and talent, he carved out his own success. People began to notice John again, and he received the applause and recognition he deserved. Perhaps driven by this, William, after regaining his sight, started a similar company, and the two became business rivals. With the young family's backing, William's company grew rapidly, but John was no pushover. Their competition intensified. When I was still with William's company, John had approached me several times with job offers. John's offers were much more lucrative than what William provided, but as William's girlfriend, I declined. John had simply nodded and smiled. "I admire your work, Anna, but your choice in men is questionable. Regardless, my company's doors are always open to you. If you ever change your mind, feel free to reach out." After leaving William's company, John approached me again. I used my desire to travel as an excuse to decline his offer once more. "I just want to travel and clear my mind." Escaping reality won't help you move on. Channeling your energy into your career and creating your own success is the best way to move forward. Don't you agree, Anna? Is this your way of getting back at William? Because he took Mia from you. I admit defeating William is a matter of pride for me, but it's not because of Mia. Mia chose wealth over love, and William is vain and selfish. They're a perfect match. I'm interested in your talent and work ethic. You joining my team would be a great asset, and defeating William would be inevitable. After careful consideration, I accepted John's offer to join his company. Chapter 8. I didn't expect William to act so quickly. Enraged by my decision to join John's company, William resorted to kidnapping me and stealing my USB drive. William held up the USB drive. "You always store everything together. The formula for my treatment must be in here, right? I should have done this sooner to prevent you from betraying me." I couldn't help but laugh. "You lie so easily." Betrayal? Who betrayed whom first? Did you think of this day when you were sneaking around with Mia? You hold grudges so tightly. Mia is in prison, yet you can't let it go. Fine, stay here and cool off. Watch how I use your formula to succeed. You'll thank me later. You thief, give it back. John's company is about to launch a new product based on your formula, right? I'll release my product first, making his a mere imitation. This will ruin his company's reputation and stock value. Without the young family's support, he won't last long. Watch how I bring him down. William confined me in a remote house, guarded to prevent my escape. I remained calm, eating and drinking well, counting the days until William would come back. Over the years, I had watched William climb the ladder ruthlessly. He underestimated how well I knew him. When I left the company, I sabotaged the project, causing financial losses. William, with his petty nature, would hold a grudge. I had prepared for this. The USB drive he stole contained an incomplete formula. It would be nearly impossible to create the product without the full formula. Sure enough, a few days later, William stormed in, furious. "Anna, you wretch, you tricked me." I calmly ate my fruit, taking my time before looking up. "Oh? How did I trick you?" William threw the USB drive at me. "The formula is incomplete. Where's the rest? Give it to me." William had dark circles under his eyes, clearly suffering from insomnia and ineffective medication. "I burned it." "Burned it? Impossible. It's your family's secret formula. You wouldn't destroy it. The formula is too potent with significant side effects. It's not a good remedy. Haven't you experienced it yourself?" "But John's company is launching a product based on it." "Of course not. John knew about the spy you planted in his company. He fed you false information. Everything you saw was fake. You two conspired to trap me." William was shocked, stepping back in disbelief, his anger rising. Without the formula, his lifeline was gone. That night, his eye condition relapsed. Chapter 9. This time, William only lost sight in his left eye, but the headaches persisted. He gathered experts for a consultation, but no one, including me, could predict if his right eye would be saved. In one night, William's hair turned half white. I thought this blow would break him, but he became more desperate. He threatened Ryan's life to force me to treat his eyes. "Ryan is already comatose and you still want to use him as leverage? William, you're beyond redemption." William's eyes were bloodshot, his voice low. "I can't go back to that cold, dark life. If I go blind, I'd rather die. Think carefully. If you don't treat me, I'll have Ryan's life support turned off. I know your family is your bottom line. Even if he can't wake up, you won't give up on him." William stared at me like a desperate gambler. Gamblers can't be trusted. Once they find your weakness, they'll exploit it endlessly. And I, born stubborn, hate being threatened. I couldn't fully cure him, but I could use acupuncture to temporarily restore his left eye's vision. Once the effect wore off, both eyes would go blind. We agreed that I would treat him and he would let me go afterward. He agreed readily, thinking he had the Young family to back him up for a comeback. I treated him and his left eye regained sight. William marveled at my skill, unaware it was a temporary fix at the cost of his right eye. I asked him to prepare a car for me to drive back to the city. William stood at the door, leaning against the frame. "If you join John, you'll become a formidable opponent. Letting you go seems unwise." His assistant parked the car and walked away. I walked to the car door and looked back at him. "Let's hope we never meet again." William chuckled, then laughed louder. "Anna, do you really think I'd let you go and join John to fight against me? When did you become so naive?" "Grab her." The assistant grabbed my shoulder. I frowned. "You're going back on your word?" William spread his hands. "What can you do if I do?" I looked at him calmly, even smiling slightly. I counted in my head 3, 2, 1. William's expression changed, realizing something was wrong. He rushed towards me, shouting, "Don't let her go." But he only took one step before collapsing, clutching his eyes. "No, my eyes, I can't see." At that moment, his face was filled with despair. The assistant, shocked, loosened his grip and I pushed him away. I got into the car, stepped on the gas and sped away, leaving William's anguished cries behind. Chapter 10. After returning to the city, I immediately reported William's illegal detention to the police. William was arrested and I heard he was emotionally unstable, even self-harming. John gave me a few days off, concerned. "William is still a young. Aren't you worried the Young family will retaliate?" I looked up at the sky. "The Young family? Of course I'm worried. But what if he isn't a Young?" John's concern was valid. The Young family was powerful, and although William wasn't their only heir, he was still a Young. Such families value their reputation highly. When William lost his sight before, the Young family ignored him. But being harmed by an outsider was different. It was a matter of pride. Soon Mr. Young Sr. invited me for tea and Mrs. Young even threatened my life. I silently handed them a document. Years ago, when William regained his sight, I discovered that Mr. Young Sr. and Mrs. Young had blood types B and O, but William was type A. This meant William wasn't their biological son. At the time, I kept this secret because I loved William. Now there was no need to hide it. A family of their stature having a child switched at birth would be a scandal. William's actions had already tarnished the Young family's reputation. If this news got out, it would be a bigger blow. Mr. Young Sr. decided to let the matter rest and assured me they wouldn't trouble me again. As for William's true identity and how he was switched, that was for the Young family to investigate. It was no longer my concern. My life returned to normal. I commuted between work, the hospital, and home. John's company thrived, expanding its scale, and my bonuses were higher than ever. I visited Ryan daily, talking to him, believing he could hear me. One day, a nurse excitedly told me Ryan's fingers had twitched, a possible sign of awakening. I spoke to him with renewed hope, feeling he could hear me. Life is an irreversible journey. We must face it with courage and determination. Standing by Ryan's hospital window, I looked out at the blinding sunlight and the clear, cloudless sky.